Hello, and welcome to another edition of the Eastside Church of Christ 5 by 5 by 5 Bible reading. This is for the week of January 24th through the 30th, 2021. We'll be looking at the final chapter in Mark 16, and chapters 1 through 4 of Paul's letter to the Galatians. In Mark 16, of course, the Gospel's final chapter, it includes the resounding exclamation mark of Jesus' vindication, which is his resurrection from the dead. The empty tomb was witnessed by confused and fearful women who reported to the disciples, who themselves refused to believe it. Surprisingly, it seems that no one had any resurrection expectations. His appearance to the 11, by now Judas had hung himself, cemented the fact that Jesus was alive, really and truly alive. Now, their work for the cause of the kingdom must continue in his name as they go out to preach. And they did. And that work continues to this day. Galatians is one of the first, if not the first, letters from the prolific pen of the Apostle Paul. It's probably written shortly after the churches in Galatia had been established during his first evangelistic trip. You can read about that in Acts chapters 13 and 14. And it describes Paul's utter amazement concerning the Galatians' acceptance of new and heretical teaching as a result of Jewish, or as we call them, Judaizing teachers. The push of those Judaizing teachers was that Christians must become Jews first and subscribe to the law of Moses in order to be saved. Galatians chapter 1 begins with Paul's incredulity at their abandonment of the true gospel. And evidently, the Judaizers had done their work in discrediting Paul, and so he writes of his credentials as an apostle. In chapter 2, Paul reiterates his opposition to the Judaizers by telling of his relationship with the other apostles. They were in lockstep concerning the gospel. And then he tells of his rebuke of Peter for Peter's momentary weakness in disassociating with the Gentiles. Chapter 3 begins with a strong tone. Paul says, "You foolish Galatians." It indicates his deep concern for them. He reminds them of the importance of faith as opposed to works of law, and how that faith was evident in Abraham. So, Abraham was approved by God before and apart from the law. Paul writes clearly about the law's purpose and its temporary nature. Now that Christ had come, the one who was promised in the law had fulfilled its purpose. Now there is faith, specifically the faith. That is the system of salvation delivered through Jesus, which makes those who follow it Abraham's descendants, Abraham's kin. In Galatians chapter 4, Paul continues to affirm that Christ has come to free us, not to send us back to a way of slavery. So Paul uses a part of the Jews' own history to make the point. The point is, we are free. There's lots to consider in this week's reading, and I hope that you'll have some happy reading this week. Thanks for joining us in our 5 by 5 by 5 Bible reading. We'll see you next time. God bless you.